There are moments when life hits you so hard you can't even breathe. You're sitting there, head in your hands, trying to figure out how it all went wrong. You thought you were doing everything right. You prayed, you worked hard, you believed, and still, nothing seems to line up. It's confusing because you can't understand why a loving God would let you go through so much pain when all you wanted was peace. But let me tell you, even when it doesn't make sense, it's still part of the plan. You see, God never promised you a life that made sense. He promised you a life with meaning. Sometimes meaning only shows up after confusion. It's in those moments when you can't see the reason, when you can't trace His hand, that He's actually writing the most powerful part of your story. You may feel abandoned, but you're not. You may feel forgotten, but your name is still written in His plan. You're not lost. You're being led, even if the path feels dark. Life doesn't always unfold the way you pictured it, but that doesn't mean it's falling apart. Sometimes it's falling into place. What looks like a breakdown might just be a breakthrough in disguise. You may not understand the why right now, but you'll understand the wow later when it all comes together. God often uses confusion to guide you into clarity, because if you saw the full plan too early, you try to control it. It's natural to want answers. It's human to question the pain. But what you've got to learn is that faith doesn't need the full blueprint to move forward. God doesn't reveal the whole picture, because if He did, you'd stop relying on Him. So He gives you just enough light to take the next step, and then asks you to trust Him for the one after that. That's how you grow. That's how your faith becomes stronger. You might not see progress, but something is shifting under the surface. Just because it's silent doesn't mean it's stagnant. God is doing more in the unseen than you could ever imagine. The pain you're feeling right now has a purpose that will be revealed in time. The confusion you're walking through today is shaping the clarity you'll carry tomorrow. You are being prepared for something bigger than where you are. Every tear, every unanswered question, every closed door, it's all connected. What feels like a delay is just divine alignment in disguise. Don't let confusion make you doubt the Creator. God doesn't make mistakes. He makes movements that don't make sense until you see the ending. You don't need to understand everything to trust that you're still in His hands. Your path might twist and turn, but the destination hasn't changed. Keep walking, keep believing, and keep standing, because confusion is not the absence of God's plan. It's often the proof that He's working on something you can't yet see. You had it all planned out. You thought you knew how your life would unfold. The career, the timing, the success, the family, the dream. Then something unexpected happened, and suddenly you're off course. You start thinking, this isn't how it was supposed to go. But what you call a detour, God calls direction. The path you didn't plan might just be the one He always intended. Detours don't mean you've missed the route. They mean God is protecting you from something you couldn't see ahead. You might be frustrated because you're delayed, but delay is not denial. God's GPS doesn't make wrong turns. Every step, every stop, every setback, it's all rerouting you towards something greater than you imagined. You're still on schedule, even if it doesn't look like it. Sometimes God will let your plans fall apart just to show you His are better. He'll block opportunities you begged for, because He knows what's behind them. You might see loss, but He sees rescue. You might see rejection, but He sees redirection. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the door that closed, all of it is divine protection disguised as disappointment. It's hard to trust the process when you don't know where it's taking you. But faith means believing that even the detours are divine. You might not see the road signs, but if you listen closely, you'll feel His peace guiding you through the confusion. Sometimes the only map you need is faith in motion. You keep walking, even when it doesn't make sense, because you know who's leading you. The reason God changes your route is because He knows where danger hides. He sees the trap before you see the opportunity. That's why some things didn't work out. He wasn't punishing you, He was protecting you. If you only knew what He was keeping you from, you'd thank Him for every closed door. So stop crying over what didn't go your way. Stop replaying the what-ifs. The route changed, but the promise didn't. The path bent, but the purpose remained. You didn't lose time, you gained wisdom. God didn't forget you. He's just taking you the long way, because there's something to learn along the road. The detour is not a delay, it's preparation. You're learning patience, resilience, and trust. You're developing faith that won't crumble under pressure. Every detour is a classroom where God refines your character. So stop trying to go back to the old route. It's gone. The only way now is forward, and forward is exactly where His plan is leading. Life isn't easy, and you already know that. You've been through storms that shook you to your core. You've faced nights where you cried yourself to sleep wondering how you'd make it to the morning. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still trying. That's not weakness. That's proof that you're built stronger than you realize. Every battle you faced didn't come to break you. It came to reveal you. God allows pressure to prove potential. You don't know what's inside you until life hits hard enough to squeeze it out. Every challenge you faced was a test that exposed your endurance. You didn't fold, you fought. And that means you're stronger than you think. Sometimes you ask, why me? But have you ever considered that God trusted you with the fight? He knew you could handle what others couldn't. He knew you had the strength to walk through what would crush someone else. That's not punishment. That's purpose. The battle proves you're chosen. You may be tired, but you're not finished. You may be wounded, but you're not weak. Every scar you carry is a reminder that pain didn't win. The enemy tried to destroy you, but he failed because you were built by the Creator, not by chance. You were designed to withstand pressure, to stand tall when the storm hits. When the battle feels heavy, remind yourself of how far you've already come. Think back to every mountain you thought you'd never climb, every valley you thought you'd never survive, and yet you did. That's not coincidence, that's divine strength. You've got a God who fights beside you, who stands within you, who empowers you when you feel empty. You're not fragile, you're forged. You're not a victim, you're a vessel of strength. Every battle sharpened your spirit, toughened your mind, and deepened your faith. You've got a resilience that only struggle can produce. And that resilience is part of the plan, because what's coming next requires a stronger version of you. So don't run from the next challenge. Don't pray for easier battles, pray for stronger faith. Because every time you survive a fight, you level up in grace. Every battle reveals the warrior within you. And that's how God builds champions out of ordinary people. Waiting can feel like torture. You pray, you believe, and yet nothing. It's like heaven's gone silent. You start to wonder if your prayers are hitting the ceiling and bouncing back. But silence doesn't mean absence. Just because God hasn't spoken yet doesn't mean He isn't working. His delay is not denial, it's preparation. We live in a world obsessed with speed, but God moves by seasons. You can't rush what He's growing in you. The promise is still on the way, but it has to meet the right time, the right people, and the right version of you. You're not waiting on God as much as God is waiting on you to be ready for what's coming. Sometimes God keeps you waiting because the blessing would crush you if you received it too soon. You want the promotion, but He's developing your patience. You want the relationship, but He's maturing your heart. You want the breakthrough, but He's building the foundation that can sustain it. The wait is not wasted, it's working something in you. You've got to understand that waiting is part of warfare. It's not a passive thing, it's a faith thing. When you wait right, with expectation instead of frustration, that's when heaven starts to move. You can't be bitter and believe at the same time. So while you wait, worship. While you wait, serve. While you wait, grow. Don't let impatience talk you out of God's plan. Some of you have settled for less because you got tired of waiting for more. You walked away right before the breakthrough. But you've got to trust that if God said it, He'll do it, even if it's taking longer than you thought. His timing isn't late, it's perfect. Waiting doesn't mean nothing's happening. It means everything is being aligned. The right doors, the right timing, the right people, it's all being prepared. You may not see it, but heaven is busy arranging details. When it finally happens, you'll realize why it took so long. You'll see that every delay was protection, every pause was preparation. God's plan never fails, it just unfolds slower than our patience sometimes allows. And when it unfolds, it will make perfect sense. Somewhere along the way, life has a way of shrinking your faith. You start out believing you can do anything God puts in your heart. Then disappointment comes, failure comes, people walk away, and suddenly you start doubting if it's even possible anymore. You stop dreaming the way you used to. You settle for what's safe instead of believing for what's supernatural. But deep down, you know, You were made for more than survival. You were made for something that requires big faith. Believing bigger doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means trusting that God's reality is greater than yours. You might not see how it's going to happen, but faith doesn't operate on logic. Faith operates on obedience. God doesn't ask you to figure it out. He asks you to trust that He already has. The size of your dream doesn't intimidate Him. It honors Him. When you dream small, you're telling God He's limited. But when you dream big, you're declaring that He's limitless. Every person who ever did something extraordinary started with a ridiculous belief that it could be done. Faith is the fuel of progress. You can't wait for everything to make sense before you move, because faith is what makes things move. You don't need proof before you start walking. You just need belief strong enough to take one more step when everything inside you says to stop. Stop letting fear make your decisions. Fear will always tell you to play it safe, stay where it's comfortable, and never stretch too far. But comfort zones are the enemy of calling. If your vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. If your dream doesn't make you nervous, it's too small. You've got to believe beyond your current reality, because faith is what pulls your future into the present. You've got to talk like it's already done. Speak like you're already there. Stop saying, "If God blesses me." Start saying, "When God blesses me." You're not begging for blessings. You're aligning with promises. You've got to see it in your spirit before you'll see it in your sight. The more you believe, the more you attract the doors designed for your destiny. You may not come from much, but that doesn't limit what God can do through you. He specializes in using the least likely people to do the most incredible things. Don't let your background define your belief. The same God who raised others out of nothing is the same God who's about to lift you. The question is not whether He can, it's whether you believe He will. Believing bigger is not arrogance, it's agreement. You're agreeing with what heaven already declared over your life. You're agreeing that your story isn't over. You're agreeing that God's plan is still unfolding. So lift your head, raise your faith, and start expecting something beyond your ability, because that's where God shows up best. Faith isn't built when life is peaceful. It's built in the fire. The fire is that place where everything feels unstable, unpredictable, uncomfortable. It's when you don't know how things will work out, and all you can do is trust. Most people want faith without fire, but you can't have one without the other. Fire proves what's real and burns away what's weak. The moment you say you have faith, expect a test to come. Faith untested is just talk. God allows you to step into situations that stretch your belief so that you can see how powerful your trust can be. You can't pray for strength and then avoid struggle. You can't ask God to make your faith grow and then expect everything to stay easy. Growth requires heat. It's in the fire that you learn how to depend on God and not your own plan. When everything else fails, your resources, your people, your logic, you start to realize He was the source all along. That's why the fire is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to define you. It purifies, clarifies, and solidifies your faith in a way that nothing else can. You can't quit just because it's hot. When the heat rises, that's when God is closest. He doesn't abandon you in the fire. He steps into it with you. The same fire that tried to burn you will end up blessing you. The flames that were meant to consume you will refine you into gold. You'll come out stronger, cleaner, and wiser. When the pressure feels unbearable, remember this: diamonds are made under heat. The same way gold is refined by fire, faith is purified through pain. Stop asking God to remove the fire. Ask Him to reveal His presence in it. You don't need the fire to end. You just need faith to endure. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize the fire didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It showed you who you are and who He is. It took everything away that was false and left only what was real. That's what faith looks like under pressure. Unshakable, immovable, undeniable. Every time you walk through the fire and survive, your faith levels up. You start to understand that even in the heat, you are never alone. God is with you, protecting you, teaching you, preparing you. So don't fear the fire, embrace it. Because every flame you face is shaping you for something greater on the other side. If you live for people's approval, you'll die by their rejection. Too many dreams die because people let someone else's opinion become their limitation. You can't allow anyone to tell you who you are when they didn't create you. God's plan for you doesn't come with a public vote. The only validation you need is divine confirmation. People will try to define you by your past, your failures, your family, your mistakes, but they don't know what God placed inside you. They see where you came from, but not where you're headed. They see your current situation, but not the potential hidden beneath it. You are not who people say you are who God says you are. You've got to get comfortable being misunderstood. Not everyone will see your vision because it wasn't shown to them. It was shown to you. Stop trying to convince people who were never assigned to understand you. Your destiny doesn't require their agreement. The noise around you doesn't change the promise over you. Sometimes God will allow people to doubt you just to push you deeper into His plan. Their disbelief is fuel for your drive. Let them underestimate you. It'll make the victory that much sweeter when they watch you rise. Every time someone says you can't, smile and remember that they're not your author. God is. When you start walking in your calling, not everyone will clap for you. Some people liked you better broken because your growth reminds them of what they refuse to change. Don't let that stop you. Keep walking, keep building, keep believing. You're not responsible for their opinions. You're responsible for your obedience. You don't need validation when you already have value. The one who created you already approved you. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit small spaces or small minds. You were made to stand tall in purpose, to shine in the light of what God has placed inside you. The moment you stop chasing people's approval, you free yourself to chase your destiny. You'll realize that the only voice that truly matters has been speaking over you since day one. You are chosen. You are loved. You are equipped. Don't let the noise of others drown out the sound of that truth. Every person walking this earth faces storms. Some come out of nowhere. 1 minute life is calm, and the next, the winds of trouble are howling all around you. You lose a job, a friend betrays you, your plans collapse, your strength fades. And in that moment, it feels like the storm will never end. But storms don't last forever. They just feel like they do when you're standing in the rain. God never promised a life without storms. He promised peace within them. Peace doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means you're anchored even when waves are crashing. You might feel shaken, but you're not sinking. God's presence is your lifeboat, and He's not about to let you drown in what He allowed you to go through. Storms are temporary teachers. They expose what you've been depending on. They reveal whether your faith is rooted in circumstances or in the Creator. You only find out how strong your foundation is when the winds start blowing. If your trust is built on God, no matter how fierce the storm, you will still be standing when the sky clears. It's okay to cry in the storm. It's okay to feel scared. But don't let fear control your focus. You can't look at the waves and expect to walk on water. Keep your eyes fixed on the one who commands the sea. As long as you're looking at Him, the waves can't pull you under. Faith keeps you afloat when fear tries to drag you down. The hardest part of any storm is the waiting for the clouds to break, waiting for the sun to shine again. But remember this, storms always run out of rain. The same clouds that blocked your vision today will soon clear to reveal a brighter tomorrow. What's chaotic now will soon make sense. What's painful now will soon produce peace. Sometimes the storm isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to wash away everything that was holding you back. It clears the ground for something new to grow. Don't resist the storm. Let it purify what needs to change. You may not like it now, but when you come out, you'll realize that the storm didn't ruin you, it renewed you. So hold on tight. Don't jump ship just because the waves are high. Keep trusting, keep believing, keep praying. The storm has an expiration date. The wind will calm, the waves will still, and when the sun rises again, you'll see that God was steering the boat the entire time. Pain doesn't visit your life by accident. It comes with an assignment. You may not understand it now, but every ache, every heartbreak, every closed door is producing something inside you that comfort never could. You don't grow when everything is easy. You grow when everything hurts and you're still standing. Pain is the classroom where faith learns to fight. It teaches you endurance, humility, and dependence on God like nothing else can. Sometimes the thing you prayed for doesn't happen because God is building something stronger inside you. You wanted relief, but He's giving you resilience. You asked for a quick answer, but He's giving you eternal strength. God knows that without pressure, diamonds don't form. Without fire, gold isn't purified. Without struggle, purpose never gets revealed. You can't see it now, but the pain that's breaking you today is the same pain that will bless you tomorrow. That job you lost, that relationship that fell apart, that dream that seemed delayed, all of it is positioning you for something far greater. Pain is God's secret way of redirecting your life toward divine purpose. And sometimes, the people who hurt you the most were actually the ones who pushed you closer to your calling. They thought they broke you, but they built your prayer life. They thought they stopped you, but they made you seek God harder. Even your enemies can't stop what God started. They're just tools in His hand. When you walk with God, pain is never wasted. Every scar becomes a testimony. Every tear becomes a seed. Every heartbreak becomes a reminder that you're still here for a reason. Your survival itself is proof that God still has a plan in motion. You may not understand it in the moment, but purpose hides in the very places you tried to avoid. Don't curse the season that's shaping you. Embrace it. God uses pain not to destroy you, but to prepare you for what's next. Because the same hands that allowed the storm are the same hands that will use it to guide you safely to the other side. Pain may have changed you, but it also positioned you. That's where purpose starts to come alive. We live in a world that celebrates speed. Everyone wants instant results, fast promotions, overnight blessings. But God doesn't work on a worldly clock. He works on divine timing. You can't rush what He's building because He's not just preparing your blessing, He's preparing you for it. If He gave it to you too soon, it might crush you instead of crown you. When God takes His time, it's not punishment, it's protection. You think you're ready, but He knows what's waiting around the corner. He knows what kind of strength, wisdom, and patience you'll need when you get there. That's why some doors don't open right away. He's strengthening your character behind the scenes. Sometimes the delay isn't denial, it's development. God is forming something solid in you that can't be shaken when the spotlight comes. A foundation that can handle the weight of what's coming next. If He built it fast, it wouldn't last. That's why He's letting you grow slow. Strong roots take time to go deep. You may feel hidden, overlooked, or forgotten, but hidden seasons are sacred. They're the moments when God works privately before He reveals you publicly. He's not ignoring you. He's shaping you. And when the time is right, He'll elevate you so quickly that every season of waiting will suddenly make sense. You've got to stop comparing your timeline to someone else's. Their chapter 2 isn't your chapter 10. God has a unique rhythm for your life, and you can't dance to someone else's beat. Be patient with what He's building in you. Greatness isn't microwaved, it's cultivated. Your waiting isn't wasted. The longer it takes, the greater the impact will be. Every day you stay faithful in the unseen, heaven is watching, preparing the release. Don't rush it, rest in it. Because when God finally moves, you'll realize that every delay was divine, and every slow season was shaping you for something worth the wait. Fear has a voice, and it loves to speak when you're closest to breakthrough. It whispers that you're not enough, that you'll fail again, that the dream is too big. But faith has a voice too, and it must speak louder. When fear says, you can't, faith says, God can. When fear says, you're alone, faith says, has with me. Faith isn't just a feeling, it's a decision. It's standing firm when your emotions are screaming, run. It's waking up and saying, even if I don't see it, I still believe it. Because faith doesn't need proof, it just needs persistence. Every time you choose faith over fear, heaven moves in your favor. You can't walk into God's plan while holding hands with fear. Fear paralyzes you, faith propels you. Fear will build a cage around your calling, faith will break it open. Fear will make you question your worth. Faith will remind you that God already called you qualified. You've got to talk back to your fears. Remind yourself of every valley you've already come through, every mountain you've already climbed, every prayer that was once impossible but somehow got answered. If God did it before, He can do it again. Faith isn't pretending it's easy. It's choosing to believe even when it's hard. It's trusting that every no has a better yes behind it. It's standing tall even when the ground beneath you feels shaky. Faith isn't the absence of fear, it's the courage to move forward in spite of it. So, when fear tries to take the microphone in your mind, hand it back to faith. Say to yourself, I'm not walking by sight, I'm walking by trust. Remind yourself that God didn't bring you this far just to leave you here. Your faith will open doors that fear would have kept locked. Speak faith, live faith, breathe faith, and watch what God begins to do through a person who dares to believe. There are seasons when life hits so hard that you just want to stop. But the truth is, the only way you lose is if you quit. The storm may be raging, the road may be rough, but you've got to keep moving. Even if it's one step at a time, keep walking toward what God promised you. Progress is still progress, no matter how slow it feels. Sometimes life will knock you flat, and you'll wonder if you can ever get up again. You may not feel strong, but faith isn't about how you feel. It's about what you decide. Get up with tears in your eyes, but get up. Crawl if you have to. Cry while you move, but don't stop moving. The enemy's greatest weapon isn't destruction, it's discouragement. He knows if he can make you stop believing, he doesn't have to stop your destiny. Don't give him that power. You might be tired, but tired doesn't mean finished. You might be hurting, but hurting doesn't mean hopeless. Every small step forward is an act of defiance against everything that tried to break you. Every time you choose to keep going, you declare, I still trust God. It's not about speed, it's about endurance. You're not in a sprint. You're in a walk of faith. You may not see the finish line yet, but every step you take gets you closer to the breakthrough. You're building strength, you're building faith, you're building a testimony that someone else will one day draw hope from. When it feels dark, remember this: God works best in the dark. Seeds grow underground, not in the spotlight. Your growth is happening even when no one sees it. Keep walking, because motion attracts miracles. And when you look back one day, you'll realize that what felt like survival was actually transformation. Every weary step was leading you straight into the purpose God already designed for your life. Your story is not a waste, it's a weapon. Every mistake, every failure, every dark chapter you thought disqualified you is actually part of the testimony God is preparing to use. You may look at your past with regret, but God looks at it with purpose. The things you wish you could erase are the very things He plans to use to reach somebody else who feels lost right now. There's somebody out there who needs your honesty more than your perfection. They don't need to hear a flawless story. They need to hear a real one. Your transparency can break chains. When you say, I've been there, you're giving someone else the courage to heal. God will use your scars as proof that pain doesn't win. Grace does. Sometimes, the reason you went through it wasn't even for you. It was so that you could help someone else survive it. You survived the fire so that you could walk somebody else out of the flames. You made it through depression, heartbreak, loss, rejection, not just to say you made it, but to say, if God did it for me, He can do it for you. Your story is your ministry. You may never stand behind a pulpit, but your life will preach louder than any sermon. Every setback becomes a setup for somebody else's comeback. Every healed wound becomes an invitation for someone else to find hope. Don't hide your past, redeem it. Don't run from your story, own it. God doesn't waste pain, and He doesn't discard people. He redeems both. The very thing that once broke you is going to be the same thing He uses to bless others. You might not like every chapter, but trust the author. He knew how to take Joseph from the pit to the palace, Moses from the desert to destiny, and David from the pasture to the throne. He's doing the same with you. So when you tell your story, don't speak from shame, speak from strength. Because your survival is not the end of the story. It's the evidence that God's plan was bigger than your pain, and He's not finished using your life yet. There will be moments when you pray for clarity and all you get is silence. When you ask for direction and everything around you looks blurry. But this is where real trust begins, when understanding ends. God doesn't owe you an explanation, He offers you an invitation to believe anyway. You may not understand why that door closed or why that relationship ended, but sometimes God removes what you wanted so He can release what you need. Confusion isn't the absence of God's presence, it's the space where faith has to grow up. You don't need all the answers to trust that He's still in control. Faith doesn't always say, I know how this will work. Faith says, I know who's working it out. It's easy to trust when everything makes sense, but it's faith when it doesn't. God never promised you comfort, He promised you completion. And sometimes completion requires confusion. You've got to get to the place where you stop asking, why God? And start saying, even if God, even if it hurts, I'll trust you. Even if it's delayed, I'll wait for you. Even if I don't see the reason, I'll still believe you've got one. That's when peace replaces panic, not when you understand everything, but when you surrender everything. When you walk by faith, you stop needing control. Control belongs to Him. You start realizing that the path doesn't have to be clear for the plan to be perfect. He's working in the background while you're worrying in the foreground. The greatest strength a believer can have is the ability to say, I don't get it, but I'll still go where you send me. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of trust that builds unshakable peace. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the confusion you once cried over was the very bridge that carried you into your next breakthrough. You may think you've messed it up too bad, gone too far, made too many wrong turns, but God's plan is bigger than your mistakes. He saw every detour before you took it, and He still called you chosen. You can't surprise a God who already knows the ending. Your mistakes are not powerful enough to cancel His mercy. You might have made wrong decisions, trusted the wrong people, or taken the wrong path, but grace is God's way of rerouting you back to purpose. He never gives up on you. Even when you give up on yourself, His love doesn't run out when you fail. It runs deeper. The same God who called Peter after he denied Him is calling you even after your fall. Don't let shame build a prison in your mind. Shame says you're done. Grace says you're being redone. God doesn't throw people away, He restores them. Your failures don't define you, they refine you. Every time you turn back to Him, He uses what the enemy meant for evil and turns it into evidence of His redemption. You may have thought your detour disqualified you, but God turns detours into destiny. Ask Jonah. Even the belly of a whale can become a bridge back to obedience. Ask the prodigal son. Even after walking away, there's always a seat waiting at the Father's table. You've got to stop replaying your past like it's a movie that won't end. God's already written a sequel called Grace. He doesn't erase your story, He edits it with mercy. You can't rewrite yesterday, but you can surrender today. God's plan doesn't stop because you stumbled. His plan includes your comeback. And sometimes, the comeback is greater than the mistake that caused the fall. The key is to let go of guilt and grab hold of grace. You're not too late, too lost, or too broken. You're just being rebuilt. Every broken piece is a part of a bigger picture, a picture only God knows how to complete. There are moments when it feels like God has forgotten what He told you. You've prayed, waited, and believed, and nothing seems to move. But listen, the promise still stands. Just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. God doesn't change His mind about what He spoke over your life. You might look around and see no progress, but God's silence doesn't mean absence. He's working behind the curtain, aligning people, places, and timing in ways you can't yet see. What you call nothing happening is actually heaven setting the stage. Remember Abraham? He waited 25 years for a promise, but when it came at the perfect time. Remember Joseph? Betrayed, forgotten, imprisoned, but the promise still found him. God's word doesn't expire just because time passes. What He said He will do. You may be standing in a season that feels dry and barren, but don't bury what God only meant to plant. Seeds don't grow overnight. The soil looks quiet, but there's life under the surface. Your job is to stay faithful while He brings the harvest. Every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've cried, every time you refuse to quit, it's all being collected in heaven. You might not see it, but you're standing in the middle of a process that will make sense later. Keep speaking life over your promise. Keep trusting when it looks impossible. Keep believing that God hasn't forgotten your name. His plan is still unfolding. His timing is still perfect. His word is still true. And one day you'll step into the very thing you thought was lost and realize the delay was never denial. It was just God preparing you for the promise that never stopped standing.